Hello, this is What's All About with another watch review, and in this review we're looking at the very latest offering from Avi-8. That is the Hawker Hurricane Battle of Britain Special Edition. So I thought I'd show you the opening process. So we have this nice canvas case. If we open it up, you'll see, whoops, a nice bit of foam, so that's nice. So we have usually our cards at the top there. So we have information about the plane, the Hawker Hurricane, warranty card, little instruction manual, which is nice, and then this metal card about the Battle of Britain itself, which again is very nice piece of information. A little Avi-8 card, and then we have two straps. So we have just got a bit of elastic around it. So you have two NATOs. A NATO, as you and I would know, a proper NATO strap, and then a leather NATO strap. So there we go. So that's the case. Very nice presentation box. So if I just put all that back together, and we can put that away. Okay, so the watch will cost you £340. So certainly not on the cheap side of things, but we'll have a look at it in closer detail to see if it's worth the money. So let's talk about the specs. 43mm in diameter, 12mm high, with a lug-to-lug length of 52.5mm. So it's quite a decent size, probably quite standard size for an aviation watch. Obviously, all Avi-8 watches are aviation watches because of the name. So if I put it on, you'll be able to see what it looks like on my 7¼ inch wrist. So as you can see, it fits quite nicely. If I just put the strap on properly as well. So there we go, I'll just slip that down there. Looks lovely. Okay, so there we have it. Obviously, because of the nature of a NATO strap, we have this the strap underneath the case, so it does sit even higher than its 12mm height. So size wise, I think it's really nice size. I like the diameter, 43mm. I think it's quite a decent sized watch. Gives you a lot of wrist presence. Height is possibly going to be an issue for some. 12mm wouldn't be a problem if you just had it on a standard strap, but because it's a NATO strap, you've got that extra layer of height there, so it does sit very high to the wrist. Not necessarily uncomfortable, or it doesn't like wobble or anything like that. As long as you keep it relatively tight to your wrist, it's very stationary, very comfortable as well. Just something to keep an eye on. Lug to lug length is perfectly reasonable for the size of watch as well. So the lug width is 20mm, so you can fit any NATO strap to it whatsoever, or any strap indeed. Has a water resistance of 50 meters, which is pretty good, 5 atmospheres, so you could probably take it for a swim if you wanted to. I personally wouldn't, because it would ruin the leather strap, but you probably could get away with it on the canvas NATO. Has a weight of 83 grams, so it's got a fairly good weight to it. Feels good on the wrist, but not too heavy that it's it's a slug to take around, so I think it's quite well weighted. The movement, although it's not specified, I have found out that it's a Miyota 8215 movement. Fairly not the most exciting, but there is a nice little custom rotor on there, which we will have a look at in a bit. Okay, so a couple of interesting points. There's only one, well, only. It's a limited edition batch of 1,963 watches, because that's the amount of planes of Hawker Hurricanes which were involved in the Battle of Britain. Obviously, the Battle of Britain was when the Nazis attempted to invade Britain via the Luftwaffe, which was their version of the RAF, so their air forces. So it was basically an air battle between the RAF and the Luftwaffe. The Hawker Hurricane was one of the primary planes used in it, so this watch is pretty much a dedication to that. So it's nice to see on the side here that 1963, that's the amount of planes used, so obviously the limited edition amount, and then we have the serial number on the side on this little polished plate, which is a really nice little touch. Other things worth mentioning, as I briefly mentioned before, is the really nice custom rotor, which is obviously a Hawker Hurricane plane, so that's a really cool little touch, which I really like. Okay, so let's talk about each individual item on its own. So the dial itself, a little bit different to usual. I really like it. The only thing I would say is that these are numbers which are on a higher level, so it's quite multi-layered. This dial, as you can see, quite complex. I would have liked these like numbers to be higher a little bit more, just to make them even more pronounced. I think they can be a little bit flat, but that's just my preference. These applied numbers are actually pretty good, 12, 4 and 8. They've got some good depth to them. And then this date window at 6 is really nice, polished, rose gold polished ring around it with the matching date wheel inside. So that's a really nice touch as well. Obviously this, it's quite a airplane rotor kind of feel to it. So that's a nice touch as well. So design wise, I think it's really good. It's a little bit different to what we usually see. It's even been given the nod by my wife, which is usually quite difficult to do. She liked it, so I do think it's a nice dial with something a bit different about it. The hands, I personally could do with maybe the hands being a bit more legible. Maybe the black on top of the brown isn't the best colour choice, and we have these red tips as well. So they can be a little bit difficult to read in certain lights, but there we go. We have a little plane on the tip of the second hand, which is a nice little touch. So there we go. So this outer minute track, as you can see, is sort of not necessarily applied, but it's like another level above, and you can sort of see underneath it. So it's almost as if it's just like a shelf, which is quite a nice little touch. So I've been usually Avi-8 dials, look on a little bit on the cheaper side of things, but this is actually they've done a really good job with it. It's a higher level of quality than usual. Okay, so moving on to the case then. A nice mixture of, it's all rose gold plated, a nice mixture of brushed and polished. So the majority of the case is brushed, apart from this little plate on the side, and then the bezel is really high quality finishing, actually, much better than usual as well. So you can tell that they've sort of pulled out all the stops on this limited edition range. The polishing is really good. You can tell when a case is really well finished, and this is one of those examples. Everything's really really angular, really smartly finished. The case is just very, not sharp, but just refined. So that's how I feel about the cases. It's impressed me. On the side here we have a nice little touch as well. So this is mimicking the squadron code of the planes. So on the side of a plane, say for instance a Spitfire or a Hawker Hurricane, you'd see the roundel, which is painted on the side, and then you'd see two letters on one side, one letter on the other. The two letters refer to the squadron code, and then the single letter refers to the plane within that squadron. So I did have a look, and this is actually referring to a squadron of the Polish Air Force who helped out. So that's a nice little touch. It's an actual, not made up or anything. It's referring to an actual plane. This is. The case then has this really nice onion style crown, but it has the roundel really deeply engraved on that, and that is really impressive. You can see the quality of that. Polished top as well, and just those bits that are engraved really, really deep. So that's really impressed me. It looks great, and it's really nice to use as well. So yeah, that's a really good touch. So moving on to this side, I'll just give it a quick wipe. As I mentioned before, little plate. So again, something that's, you know, really impressed me. Looks really nice on as well. So that just tells you the serial number of this particular watch. So nice work so far, Avi-8. When we move on to the bottom, the fun doesn't stop there. So we have a very detailed, you know, lots of information surrounding the exhibition window. The exhibition window then contains the Miyota 8215 movement, and we have this very nice custom rotor, which I didn't even notice it to begin with, because under normal circumstances, which is quite disappointing, when you've got the NATO strap fitted, you can't even see the rotor. So it's like, why have they done that? Which is strange. So when you can actually first see the movement, you're like, ah, that's nice, which is exactly how I felt. So really cool little custom plain rotor there, which I've never actually seen done before. So that's a very nice little touch, and it's quite impressive the amount of you know, detail to it as well. Okay, so I'll just move on to the straps. So as I showed you before, we have this leather strap, leather NATO strap. So we have the same buckle on both, and then a nice little touch on the leather strap. It's not on the canvas strap, but on this little bar here, we have the Avi-8 logo lightly engraved there. So that's a really nice touch. So when you're wearing it, just slip that through there. So when you're wearing it, that's where the logo appears. So a really nice little touch there. And then on the underside as well, we have Avi-8 logo printed. This leather is really soft as well, really supple. You can tell that although it's thin, it has to be thin to you know, so it's not too high off the wrist. Although it's thin, you can tell it's really good grain, really high quality leather, very comfortable on as well. So the NATO strap, again thin but strong. You can tell it's a good quality canvas. So if I just put it on, you can have a quick look at it. So the watch sits a bit better on the canvas strap because it is a little bit thinner than the NATO strap. But in my eyes, I don't think it looks quite as good. So there we go. So that's how it looks on the canvas NATO. Sort of like a browny, bronzy colour to it. There we go. I mean, obviously all NATO straps are very comfortable, so it is soft, it is comfortable whilst on, but I personally prefer the leather strap. Okay. So let's get the macro lens on then, and we'll have a look at it in closer detail. Just give the case a quick wipe. Okay, so here's the dial. So the logo on its own level. All the printing is on like its own little raised level. It's quite complex dial really. So looking at the hands, if I can get a decent. It's quite a reflective domed sapphire crystal. So here's all these raised elements. So there's that really nice polished ring around the date window, and then this raised outer ring as well. You can see underneath it, which is cool. It's running second hand. So yeah, nicely finished, although personally I probably would have preferred like these kind of numbers here to be a little bit higher, a little bit, you know, almost like a slightly better quality, I think, because they are a little bit flat and doesn't look as good quality as it could. Moving on to the case then, if I give it another quick wipe down. Let's have a look at this side first with the serial number, so you can see that's nice and deeply engraved. So that's a great little touch there. We have this brushed side. So the brushing is really uniform, really good. See that lovely angle on this corner as well. That machining is really good. And then we have this polished bezel as well, which reflects the light really nicely. So on this side we have the RF on one side, the D on the other, so that's really deeply engraved, really nicely done as well. And then we have this lovely crown, so if I just see the polished top and then the sort of like matte blasted inside of that roundel, so that is pretty cool, that is, I really like that. And then you see the general finishing of the grip as well. Just a lovely, lovely crown. So moving on to the case back. So surrounding the exhibition window we have these details nice and deeply engraved. There we go. And then we have this really cool Hawker Hurricane plane custom rotor, which is a very nice touch. So looking at the movement itself, you know, standard procedure for a Miyota, pretty industrial looking, pretty plain, pretty, you know, not the best looking, functional more than anything, but it ticks away and it works, so that's the main thing. Okay, so let's just have a quick look at the strap. Here's the buckle on the leather, have the Avi-8 logo engraved there, and the printing on the underside. And on this bar we have, that's like quite light laser etching, and just the general top of the strap, and the stitching is very nicely done. And then just moving on to the other NATO. So that's the grain of the NATO. Very nicely done and decent quality. Okay. Right. So, usually I'm not that impressed with Avi-8s, to be completely honest. I think they usually lack a little bit of refinement. But I'm really happy to see the amount of effort and special touches they've done with this Hawker Hurricane Battle of Britain version. Obviously it is £340, so it's certainly not cheap. But I really like the little touches they've done. The custom plane rotor, the little plate on the side, this side as well, the squadron code and the roundel as well, that is quite fantastic. And the highly domed crystal with the polished bezel around it, it really gives a sense of a really nice, high quality, well thought out timepiece. The leather NATO strap is also really comfortable, and it looks good, feels good as well. So they've done a really good job on this, and I think that it's one of their best watches they've made. There's certainly many of theirs out there which are quite ordinary or nothing special, but this one I think they've really made the effort, and that has in turn made the difference. So I really do like it. This is the Avi-8 Hawker Hurricane Battle of Britain, and that's what it's all about.